welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna and I'm a little bit spooky, and today we're going to the Wild West. We're playing with the Urban Decay Wild West palette. This is from the Naked range and it is absolutely gorgeous packaging. I am in love with the packaging and I really enjoy the color story too. So in this video we'll be reviewing this palette, doing a look, seeing how it performs. I try to use a good bit of the shades on my eyes, and I have used a couple of the shades, the cooler tone shades, in another look. I'll put a picture on the screen of that look. We're gonna go through all the colors here. We're gonna swatch it, do a look, and see how she performs. Is it worth the money? Is it worth any of the hype and the mixed feelings I feel like that are around this palette? I feel like I've seen some not so great reviews maybe, or just people kind of questioning it and think it's kind of boring, and I get it. I see it is just a neutral palette, a lot of warm tones, but really when you break it down and look at it, you have a primarily matte palette with some lovely cool tones and warm tones in here, and you have a really nice pop of a dark grungy teal and a metallic turquoise, and you have a beautiful metallic bronze, a really nice metallic gold, and a beautiful metallic cool tone, almost a little bit pinky icy shade that is gorgeous. And it's also 100% vegan. So yeah, let's go ahead and read through some of the claims and what they say about this palette before we jump into the look. Okay, so I've pulled up the Urban Decay website. We have an all vegan eyeshadow palette with 12 desert inspired shades ranging from pale peach to warm brown and metallic bronze, deep blue green, and soft turquoise shimmer. It's 100% vegan, high pigment payoff, super blendable. I would have to agree, it is a very super blendable palette. It was incredibly easy to blend. See, desert inspired neutrals. The super pigmented velvety Naked eyeshadow family has a new vegan lineup of soft beige, rich terracotta brown, deep copper, burnt orange, plus a pop of turquoise and blue green. Naked Wild West shades are inspired by California deserts, Joshua Tree, and endless skies. Blaze your own trail with creamy mattes, metallics, and shimmers in the iconic ultra blendable Naked shadow formula. These ultra blendable versatile shadows solo are layered to create endless looks ranging from mild to wild. Some of the example looks are absolutely gorgeous too. And I would have to say that everything that they've claimed about the palette being ultra blendable and velvety is very much true. The formula to me is quite akin to the one used in the Naked Honey palette, which I think they had to have improved the formula within the Naked palettes for Naked Honey, because that palette outperformed any other Naked palette I've ever had, and this one is pretty much on par, or I'd say is on par with Naked Honey as far as a lovely formula. This palette does offer quite a bit of versatility. When you look at it, you may not think that right off the bat, but you have a great mix of some cool tones in there and the different shimmers. You can get a good bit of variety here, and I think it was a really fun concept, something unique about it, even though I think a lot of people didn't see that. I think it was something a little bit different. Even though it is a neutral palette, it is a neutral palette with a twist, which is what I love. I love when a neutral palette can come out but have something a little bit unique about it and not just the typical cobalt blue. I liked the shades they chose for this. I love warm tones primarily. These are colors that I like. These are colors I wear often, so the color story really did speak to me. And beyond the color story, just the whole aesthetic of the Wild West theme, I really liked. I'm a fan of Western vibes myself, so I was into it. And I feel like you can really get some fun, dramatic looks, kind of like what I have on today, but they can still be toned down enough to be wearable. I think the color choices in this create a palette that is user-friendly. The tones they paired in here are ones that can work together very seamlessly and complement one another, and just it's an easy palette, but it's a kind of a fun palette. And that's one thing that I do appreciate about the Naked range from Urban Decay and the eyeshadow palettes, is they can pop something fun in there a little bit out of the box while still making it easy to use, because I think personally, to me, when with the Naked range, it's appealing to people who don't want a lot of effort, don't want to have to put in a ton of effort into their makeup. They want something kind of a little bit softer, a little bit easier to work with, and this palette does fit that ticket, even though it doesn't necessarily say Naked when you look at it. It's not like nudie tones, but I found this one to be quite user friendly. Is this gonna be a palette that everyone needs to run out and get? No, it's gonna be a palette that if you like this kind of color story within this palette, I would say get it, because if you're a fan of more grungy colors and teals and you like a little bit of drama in your makeup and want some versatility in a palette, this is definitely the one to look at, and I don't think you'd be disappointed with it. But if this isn't a color story that speaks to you, I would say you don't need it. You can go ahead and skip out. But if this is something that kind of speaks to you, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. Anyways, let's go ahead and just get into the look, talk a little bit more about this palette, see how it performs and all of that. And yeah, so let's go ahead and just get into that look. Oh hi, it is so cold. Okay, so today we're playing with the Naked Wild West. Not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. It is primarily a neutral palette, but these are neutral colors that I really like, for one thing. Gives me a little bit of a subculture vibe in here with these interesting mix of cool tones, warm tones. I like these teals and grungy blue. This is a very kind of grungy palette. It is predominantly warm, but there is some cool tones within it. Knock the little brush out. Of course, it comes with all these little brushes. I was really excited about this palette though, because if we get down to the bottom of things, I tend to enjoy neutrals. I just like weird neutrals and dark colors, and this is just kind of right up my alley. It reminds me of Naked Honey, just a little bit expanded, and adding those cools in there I think is really cool. I don't know, I like this palette. I think it looks fun, and I was excited about it, so I ordered it as soon as it came out. I also just really enjoy the fact that it is Western themed, because I like Western stuff. Certain types of Western stuff. Dark, lonely cowboy vibes, you know, the man in black. That kind of thing. That lone cowboy in the dystopian future type of vibe. That's what I like. Okay. And anyways, I really like the snakeskin. I thought the packaging is beautiful. Purely sold on the theme. I'm gonna be real with you. But I do enjoy the colors inside. I've already dipped into the cool tones within the palette just briefly to do a little look the other day. I've used Pony Up, Laredo, and Cowboy Rick, which performed beautifully. So today I want to really dip into a lot of shades, kind of explore the formula, see if it's any good, because I couldn't really tell much from the other shades because it was just a very minimal makeup type of vibe. I want to use Tex, which is that really dark blue, maybe a touch of Bud, which is the teal. I definitely want to jump into some of these golds because you know I love gold, and these warm browns, and just create a pretty look and see what we can do and try to stay warm. But I just really do think the packaging is absolutely beautiful. The palette itself is gorgeous. I love this snakeskin look. It's like iridescent snakeskin. I like it, okay? I like it. Is this going to be a palette that you just need to run out and buy? I doubt it, unless you are somebody who just really likes neutrals and is an Urban Decay fan. This is not the most exciting thing in the world. I get it, I know. Hey Pumpkin. Pumpkin decided to come join me. I'm going to keep the little brush that come with the palette out just so we can kind of play with it as well. I always like to kind of test the brushes because they're different in each palette. Like, it's a different shape brush a lot of times. So I kind of just want to see what it does. Rounded Crease from Sonia Kashuk, and I'm going to go straight into the shade Standoff, which is the lightest shade. And I'm going to kind of run this along the brow bone. This is a matte. This is basically my skin tone. Look at there. I just get run that under there just to give the eyeshadow something to blend into. I have primed my eyes already with the Sigma eyeshadow base in Persuade. Ran a little translucent powder through the crease just to aid in blending. That is virtually my skin tone. Let's move up one to the shade called Spur. Same brush. And I'm going to start to kind of pull that through the transition. This is kind of a buttery peach color, maybe. Cantaloupe. A light cantaloupe. Yeah, I would call it a light cantaloupe type of color. So last year when the Ultraviolet palette came out, I watched reviews, and that made me not buy the palette. This year I have not watched any reviews of the Wild West palette or anyone using it. I bought it purely because I wanted it, and I have no preconceived notions about the palette. And I think that was really detrimental that I did that last year, because I think I would have loved to have that palette and probably enjoyed it. I still want to get it, and maybe I will. But this year I avoided everyone's videos. If I saw they were using Wild West palette, I skipped it. I didn't watch it because I wanted to have my own opinion on it and not have anyone's thoughts or feelings interfere with mine. Because everybody's reviews of the Ultraviolet one just really put a sour taste in my mouth and maybe not want the palette at all, and I ended up not buying it even though it was a palette I wanted. I think I'm going to go into Ghost Town next, which is quite a step up in depth. That is the warm orangey brown. Let's use the brush to come with the palette here. This is the fluffy, it's kind of a short, dense kind of packer brush. I think we could have done something a little bit cuter on this Like, I don't know, just clear, and it just says naked. It doesn't even say what naked palette it is or anything. Like, it was just like some random extra one they had. Okay, let's take Ghost Town and start to bring that through the socket now. So occasionally they have brushes in these that I like. Sometimes I hate them. The older ones I tend to hate. But the newer little brushes, I've liked the ones since Naked Cherry. I've enjoyed them. They're good for travel. You know, they're not the brush I reach for every single day. But the brushes I enjoy for traveling if I'm bringing one of the Naked palettes with me. Because they're decent quality. They're not the worst. I mean, they're not like the brushes you get in the Sigma palettes, which are fantastic and the same quality as a Sigma palette or as a Sigma brush, but these are pretty good. And they're not like the ones in the ABH palettes that are just garbage. I don't know why ABH puts those brushes in their palettes. That is such a waste, because those brushes are freaking garbage. They are terrible. The only thing I use them for is like the little short Pack-A-Rand. But like the blending brush in those is just the worst. Like, what are they even thinking? Why bother putting that in the palette? If you're gonna include a brush, include one you can actually use. Urban Decay and this one, I think since about Naked Cherry, have been very functional brushes. Let's see, this one's doing a fine job. And you could do your whole look with just this brush if you wanted to. And that is a very pretty color. I like that color. This is a Ghost Town. It is building up really nicely. Just using little circular motions to blend it. Okay, let's take a little bit of whiskey now. I'm going to take that on a Precision Firm blender from Sigma. I'm going to take just a little bit of whiskey, which I believe is like one of their kind of staple shades. They have the, I think, a liner whiskey. That's familiar, and I know Nudie was in another palette. There's something kind of familiar about Cowboy Rick too. I'm just going to focus this right out here. I really don't think one would be disappointed with this palette if the color story speaks to you. So I know it's not the most exciting palette. I have seen, just looking at people's thumbnails on YouTube, it looks like people are shitting all over this palette, just to be honest with you. That's kind of the vibe I've gotten. This shade is applying nicely. It's building up beautifully. Very good. No complaints there. I want whiskey to be visible with my eyes open, so I'm looking straight ahead with my brows relaxed and tucking it right into that socket. Back and forth motion. Raise my eyelid, and raise my brows, and then kind of soften it out. And take a little bit more of Ghost Town and just come around that to soften. This looks going to be a little bit intense today, I believe. I'm going to go back to my first blending brush here and just soften everything out. Take a little bit more spur. But yeah, I think that looks quite nice. That's nice. I like it so far. I think it's going to come down to how Tex performs. That deep dark teal color. That shade's probably going to be the make it or break it shade, because that is a very hard shade to formulate. I've never had good luck with shades in that color in the past. I think the only one I really used and had success with was the one from the Subculture palette. And I do like this palette. Gives me some Subculture vibes. It is, to me, it would be a very good fall palette release, not necessarily spring. But the Urban Decay palettes always come out around Valentine's Day. That's just when they release them. But this is definitely one I think could carry you through fall. And I'm kind of into not the traditional spring looks right now. Like, I'm digging a little bit more grungy, moody looks for spring. While I still like my soft colors for spring sometimes, like my pinkies and kind of Pillow Talk rose gold vibes, because those are just kind of classic spring nice looks. I do enjoy a good moody look year round in smoky eye. It's so damn cold right now that I don't even feel like spring is anywhere near. Now let's check out Tex, that blue, deep grungy teal. Alright, I'm going to take it on the little short shader end with the Urban Decay brush. I'm just going to pat a little bit on there, and I'm going to start to pat it on right out here. Ooh, that's pretty. That is pretty. This would be such a good like liner shade even, but I kind of want to do it as on all over lid color. My goodness, we were just looking pretty fall with this look, to be honest with you, but who cares? I really don't. It's fall year round in my world. Currently it feels like it's fucking winter year round. Alright, this is going on pretty good. Build it up. I'm just doing kind of a patting little swipes motion to get it on there. And I'm just going to do this around the edge just to buff it. I don't want to blend it into those browns because it will get, typically when you blend a shade in this color into a brown, it's going to get a little muddy, so I don't want to over blend. I just want the edges to be somewhat diffused, but you don't want to go crazy blending because you will get a muddiness. But that's pretty. That looks great. This is a very like toned down deep teal. It's not in your face bright. And if you didn't want to like put this color all over the lid, I think it would be a really pretty like liner shade. Just a little pop of something different. And I think it looks really nice with neutrals, especially paired with these warm browns in the palette. Those are the kind of colors that just complement one another so well and usually make blues like this a little more wearable and grounded and not so abrupt on the eye. This shade falls somewhere between a blue and a green, but it's a little bit more blue, I would say, maybe. Cool, I like that. I think that looks really nice. Let me clean this little brush off. I think I'm gonna take just a touch of Bud and pop that on the center of the lid. Now that is definitely staining my brush, and I have a feeling it's gonna stain my eyeball a little bit. All right, let's take a little bit of Bud, which is the metallic lighter teal. Oh, the ad campaigns for this. What's her name from Riverdale? I can't think of her name. So gorgeous. The girl that plays Veronica. I'm just gonna... I think she's so stunning. Her eyebrows, I'm obsessed with her eyebrows. I want eyebrows like hers. Just gonna pop that on the center of the lid just to give a little bit of a shine right there. I like that. I like that a lot. Not even done, and I like it. That looks really pretty. Just a hint of the shine and catch the light in the center. That is gorgeous. Very pretty. Yeah, I dig it. I dig that shade a lot. Just taking my blending side there, coming around. That looks really nice. Okay, I'm gonna clean this little brush off using a paint slick, because professional. Let's take a little bit of Hold'em. I want to put that on the inner part right here. You've got to know when to hold them, know when to get demonetized. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of pat that over. Maybe this is not the brush for that. I'm gonna take this little tiny, this is a Smudge Petite from Sonia Kashuk. Get that gold. And that's not really showing up over that blue very well, just because, I mean, the blue is so strong, so I think I'm gonna dampen the brush and just to get the impact from it, but I think the shade will do fine if I wasn't putting it over a blue. Yeah, its swatch is okay. Not the most stellar shimmer, but it's fine. Again, I'm applying it over a deep teal, so it's not its ideal circumstance, I'm sure. Let's try a damp brush here and just go right in this inner bit. Oh yeah, okay. With a damp brush, it goes on beautifully. There we go. And because it's melding in a little bit with that teal, it's giving it a green kind of flash, even though it's not really that in the pan. And it's my little shitty hand swatch. I will, of course, give you better swatches and everything at the beginning of this video, I'm sure. Okay, building that up. There we go. Looks nice. I dig it. I really want to do a look with that shade Rustler. Also, that makes me laugh because I think of Rustler jeans. But it's a gorgeous deep, like copper bronze shade. I don't know, I really like that. It's really pretty. There's only 4 shimmers in here and the rest are matte, but the shimmers they put in here are really good ones. They're shades you want to be metallic, and I like that there's a lot of mattes to play with in this palette, and they're really pretty mattes. I think Cowboy Rick is just such a beautiful, beautiful kind of silvery yet pink shimmer. I really like that shade a lot, and it looks so pretty with pointy up. So I think I'm going to be doing a couple of looks with this palette just because I really like these colors and I want to show you how to create looks with it, because I don't think too many people probably are right now, and I think nobody seems to be that into this palette. I think I'm the only one. I'm going to go ahead and pop on some liner and lashes, finish the other eye obviously, do my face, and we'll be back for some finishing touches and final thoughts. Let's do a lower lash line real quick before we wrap things up and do our lips. I want to take a little bit of Ghost Town. I'm just gonna grab this little Morphe 152. You think I'd have that memorized by now. Oh, I did use on my waterline the Urban Decay 24/7 liner, 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil. This is the shade Anatomy. It's from the Basquiat collection that came out a while ago, You know, I really wish they had continued kind of that vibe that they were doing, what they did with his artwork and stuff, where they made palettes and makeup inspired by his artwork, and the palettes themselves were what replications of the art, and they were actually like little canvases that you could open. It had the eyeshadow in it, and on the back of the palettes it had where you could actually hang them on the wall. That was such a cute idea, and I wish they had done more collections in that vein with other artists, because that was so thoughtful and cool, and it made it really like kind of valuable collector's items to me, and I think it was a beautiful collection, and I wish they had continued that. Okay, so anyways, that's all I've done. That liner's so beautiful. It's like a, you know, terracotta orange. I'm gonna take Ghost Town now on this little Morphe brush. I'm gonna kind of load it up on one side, tap off the excess, and just get under here and run that across and kind of blend it with that eyeliner. I thought that orange liner, that would be such a pretty like pop with the blue. Yeah, I'm just gonna run that all the way across just like that. Will it join up out here on the outer corner? I'm gonna clean that brush off, and I'm gonna go into Whiskey. Did they not launch like liners and stuff with this palette like they usually do? Like they usually do like a little collection. They should have done like, they could have done a gray liner like Pony Up. Obviously they could have done a brown one called Whiskey, and teal and text, and like a metallic teal. The opportunities were endless. Did they do that? I don't know. If they did, I'll put it on the screen. All right, taking text now, just right out, or Whiskey, sorry. Just right out here on the outer portion. I'm blending that up to the outer corner. Make sure it joins up. And just have a little bit of depth out there. And just maybe for the sake of it, let's take a little bit of Rustler and put that kind of the center of the lower lash line. Pop a little bit of it right here. Right in the middle. Ooh, that's pretty. A little glow right there. Clean that off again. I'm gonna take a little bit of Hold'em, just right here at the tear duct area. All right. Okay. I'm gonna pop on my mascara. I'm not gonna do lashes today because my eyes are gonna get super watery because it's so cold, and so I'm just doing some waterproof mascara. I'm using Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect in the waterproof formula. Okay. Oh, and I've lined my lips with just one of those e.l.f. liners from the Retro Paradise collection. They don't have a name or anything. They're just a brown lip liner. And for lipstick, I want to take the Urban Decay lipstick in 1993. This is a Comfort Matte formula. I feel like it would just be the right thing to use. And why not use some Urban Decay stuff? This is a gorgeous shade, by the way. Very 90s brown. You know, I love it. Okay, and here is the look all complete. All together with the hair fixed. I'm not real concerned about my hair today. It's a bit of a mess. I'm gonna be putting on a beanie later because it's so cold. So I didn't bother like really fixing it or anything. I just kind of brushed it. This is the best we're getting. Anyway, back to the Wild West palette from Urban Decay. It retails for $49. That's a little bit lower than the previous palette. Some of them have been like 54, I believe. Yeah, it's got a rating of 4.6 stars on the Urban Decay website, 540 reviews. So that's a pretty good rating. And it appears to be out of stock on the Urban Decay website. I haven't looked up at Sephora to see if it's out of stock or what the rating is on there. Anyway, yeah, overall, I will definitely say that this palette performed beautifully. It was very easy to work with. Like for a teal like that deep and bold, to just be pretty effortless to apply is fantastic. It blended out easily. Everything blended beautifully with this palette. It was an incredibly easy palette to use. I would say if you were like interested in the Subculture palette for those teal shades and some of those warmer tones, or have this Subculture palette and gives you a little bit of trouble, maybe look towards this one from Urban Decay. It might fill that little void for you because it does have the cool tone in there, Pony Up, which is quite similar to something from Subculture. Text is obviously very much like a shade in Subculture. I believe Ghost Town's similar. Hold'em is pretty similar to a shade in there. So yeah, I mean, I think this would be a good alternative if you weren't concerned about like the burgundy or something, because this palette is much more user-friendly than Subculture. I personally don't mind Subculture at all, I know, but a lot of people had trouble with it, and it's such a cool color story. It's very grungy, and this palette has that grungy vibe to it, and I really like the theme. The overall aesthetic of the palette I think is really cool. And all the shades I used today and the cool tones I did the other day, just real quick in a look, performed beautifully as well. I think there's nothing to complain about here at all. You may find the color story boring. I think some people are finding it a bit boring, but performance-wise, it's fantastic quality. It is up there with Naked Honey as far as the quality goes, because to me, Naked Honey was like their peak of quality. And also, this one is 100% vegan, which I think is the first time they've done that. I believe it's the first time I've really seen it publicized from Urban Decay that a palette is 100% vegan, so that is really, really cool. Of course, Urban Decay, I believe, is a cruelty-free brand as well. So yeah, I think this was great. Great palette. And I enjoyed it. I will definitely continue to enjoy it in the future. I just really like the whole vibe of it. That is all for today. Thank you for hanging out with me and seeing how I create this look. Here are my thoughts on the Wild West palette. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about it. Are you interested? Are you not? I'm getting the vibe. There's a very mixed feelings about this palette, but just if you're going in just wondering about the quality purely, the quality is there. The color story, that's up to you. That's personal preference. So yeah, anyways, I will see you guys next one. Stay safe and stay spooky and stay warm. Bye now.